Bowl champions, Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Phixated Podcast. I am your host, Mike Azzolina, and I am joined tonight by my very good friend and a guy who I drug along with me for the cleat chaos debacle, Regzy Boo. Hi.
Hi, buddy. First of all, fantastic intro twist today. I love that. And then, the cleat thing, it started as, I'm not sure, I can't imagine the number of people you texted when you first were looking at the wall of cleats.
Honestly, I did not text a lot of people looking at the wall.
Well, I feel so privileged then.
I didn't really. I texted you, I texted a buddy that I play with, and I FaceTimed Eric Kopp.
Okay, that makes sense. Well,
I feel
very honored to be a part of that initial phone call.
And Adam Schaefer, I sent him a message with the cleats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it started as the wall of cleats at Dick's Sporting Goods. And for anyone who has ever been, it's very clear when anyone is there what the shoe section looks like. And then even at that point, I made a bold choice, I think, even for myself. Typically, I'm a big, fan of gray. Like gray I like the color. I'm a fan of it. But I went for the gold and white because I thought they look good. And the gray needed a little something. They were a little too gray.
They were a little gray.
And then I got what can only be described as a mass text sent individually that said, go to my Twitter, my other Twitter, and vote on the cleat thing. It's clearly something you copy and pasted like 100 times into most of your contact list.
I really don't think I did.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen. I texted a few people.
Okay.
I was like, I need the input in one place so I can count it up. I can't go through all these text messages.
Yeah.
Put it in one place.
So I went to the public-facing Twitter, Twitter account of Azzy, the non-media mogul Twitter account of Azzy, and submitted my official reply to the cleat choice 2023. It seemed like a lot of people had opinions.
And the Facebook page has a lot of opinions, Regs.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
They're all out there. They're all out there. But it's pretty split right now, Regs.
Is it?
It's pretty split.
That's amazing.
It's pretty split. So I really haven't decided yet. I was gonna do a reveal on the show, but if I'm being honest with you, I don't have the cleats because one, I didn't go get them because I'm still split. But two, I also have COVID and feel like I should probably not go out like at least another
for a little while,
just another day, even you know.
That was another fun text message.
I hold on. I need to get...
Well, F me. Just a picture of the test.
Well, look, I felt decided that it was time to at least take the test for the good of for the sake of the people, but it turned out I had it, and I feel fine. Overall, I don't feel poorly,
which is great.
It's just one of those things, man.
It's one of those things.
This is where we're at right now.
It's kind of a pitfall of the new job with all the traveling, right? This is the thing that's gonna be more prevalent in your life.
It's funny because no one else got sick except for me,
which is amazing. Then you think back to when it might have happened, right? And of course we never know
anything.
There's a million. There's a million times.
Could have just been luck of the draw of who I was sitting near.
Right.
On the plane, could have been someone I sat near in the airport. It could be anything. It could be like going to the gym.
Literally, right?
Who knows? Who knows? Anywho's, Regs. Ultimately, been a fun fun ride here the last few days, with the cleats and the bounce back from COVID. Riggs, I'm down here working out right now with COVID.
See, good for you.
Just drinking a lot of Gatorade. Though.
Yeah.
A lot of liquids.
That's a fantastic flavor, by the way, the one you're holding. Top 1 or 2 for me.
What is your top?
Glacier Freeze is my all-time
That's my top.
favorite
That is my top.
Gatorade. And that's the zero version of it, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, so good.
But Glacier Freeze is the all-time number 1.
Glacier Freeze is good. And the white one, the clear one.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
I can't remember what the name of it is. And then classic lemon lime.
That's a good one.
I feel like if I'm doing my draft of Gatorades, Glacier Freeze and lemon lime I'm going to try and get them 1 and 2.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the zeros. They're a little bit thinner, which I like. Yeah. I'm not into like the sickly, like, I don't know. The originals make me like feel sick to my stomach when I'm done.
Oh, do they really?
Yeah. It's like maybe too sweet. I think it's like too, I don't know. It's weird. I'm just getting old. That's really what it comes down to.
I don't know if that's.
But the original, the original Glacier Freeze is still
did accuse me of a mass text.
I said sent out individually. I said a mass text sent out individually.
But it wasn't even that. I think I texted like 3 people and said, "Go on there. I've texted you about it. I need you to comment on it."
See,
now.
I just know you're a popular guy and that you could reach out to a lot of people.
Yeah. Listen, it's amazing that account, my 2 most like interacted with tweets are one about cleats and one about where I'm gonna go eat dinner when Andrea's not here. I put out a lot of good stuff on there that no one really cares about. But the second I tweet about cleats and food, everybody comes to the rescue.
Fantastic.
The white Gatorade is Frost Glacier Cherry.
Yes.
And that is also a very good flavor.
The boys are a big fan of that one. My boys.
Yeah, I like that one too. So I agree with your boys. All right, buddy. Lots to get into tonight. We're going to try and bounce right through the Eagles here. There are a couple things I wanted to touch on. I know you had mentioned before we started, like the Phillies are on now, and I forgot the Eagles existed.
It's so bad. I mean, I don't know if it's bad. It's what always happens. Even the fact that they went to the Super Bowl. As soon as like the live BP video started coming out on Twitter, I was like, "What? The Eagles went to the Super Bowl? What happened? I don't know what you're like. I don't know what you're talking about."
Those were fantastic.
And the fact that I got to sit today and watch Trea Turner lead off for the Phillies, even if it's in a spring game, and the first thing he does is go single, steal second, score on a base hit. I'm like,
steal second, standing up.
I almost had to change my pants.
Steal second, standing up, and then single in a run, and then fly out to the warning track. Not a bad day, and made a ridiculous play in the hole.
And then also get his own RBI on a single.
We're gonna have plenty to say about Trea Turner here.
But yes, unfortunately, it has caused me to ignore anything related to the football team.
Well, let's just run through a couple of things that have happened since we last spoke from Wichita. The first one being the AJ Brown interview, which was hysterical.
It was really good.
So many highlights from that interview. I forget the name of the podcast, but if you haven't, just search it on Twitter. There are a lot of clips that were taken. I think my favorite was AJ basically saying, extend Jalen or trade me wherever he goes.
Wherever he's going, I'm going with him.
Which speaks volumes to Jalen Hurts, you know? And I enjoyed listening to AJ Brown. He's not one that you hear a lot from in the media. We heard a little bit after the Super Bowl, and you could hear the devastation in his voice. But this was just different, This was different. Kind of listening to him in almost an uncut format. He was really funny, really funny. And he talked about Nick Sirianni and like the crazy random stuff that that they do as a coaching staff and say as a coaching staff that like you have to like kind of sit there and think about.
Yeah.
But just wanted to bring that. If you haven't listened to it, go find it. Just find some of the clips, but I really thought that the moment with Jalen and what he said about Jalen speaks well. And here's the thing, how he's extending Jalen.
Oh yeah. This was not said in any way that implied that it wasn't going to happen. It was very much in like a wink, wink. Like, I know how he knows what he's doing, but this is just funny. So I'm just going to roll with it.
Do it and move along.
Right.
Do it and move along.
Yeah.
The other thing that's been happening, kind of on the side here, which has just been wild, is the defensive coordinator search.
Yeah, a couple other guys either took other jobs or kind of backed out mutually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really know who's left on the list, to be quite honest. I haven't been keeping, again, like I said, I haven't been keeping track close enough. So who's left that they've been talking to?
Well, and that's the hard part, right? I don't know that I actually have I don't know that I actually have the full list of who's there. Denard Wilson's still there. I thought Vance Joseph took a job somewhere.
I thought so too.
I'm trying to find the complete list of who's still there right now. I'm trying to pull it up to see if I can find one. This was just a day ago. While I'm looking for that, I think the point that I'm looking at here, despite who's still
Vance Joseph got hired by the Broncos.
Okay, that's what I thought. He got hired. The point that I'm trying to make, and I think the same can be said for the offensive coordinator position, even though we're pretty much set offensively.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to the combine this week, and you don't have coordinators.
Yeah, it helps to know what kind of, what you might be running in order to
what
evaluate
scheme, right?
the proper people.
What scheme you're running? And part of it, Regz, I think it's fair to probably point out that you can still look at players and say they'll fit this scheme, they'll fit this scheme. But it's going to be really difficult to make your board without having those guys.
Yeah.
And
have them have some input.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you. I almost wonder if people are looking at the Eagles defense and being a little bit put off with just the amount of free agents that we're potentially losing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Again, we have obviously a couple guys who are still under contract, and the rookies, are still pretty good, but I don't know if it's like the premier job. Like there's going to be a lot of turnover. Again, it's a chance for you to maybe put in whatever scheme you're known for and do it with a lot of fresh guys who are just coming in ready to go. But it's got to be tough to not really know what that defense looks like before you accept a job or not.
Right.
That's pure speculation by a guy who knows nothing about it. Like that's just, that's truly armchair quarterbacking the defensive coordinator position.
It looks like the main guys up for the job right now are Denard Wilson, Sean Desai, Jesse Minter, and Chris Shula. Those seem to be the
okay.
Those seem to be the guys who are sort of out in front of the conversation right now. Jim Leonard was a guy that they were interested in from Wisconsin. He needed back surgery. He's going to sit this year out, so it didn't make sense. And then Vance Joseph was the other one. I know they had talked to the linebacker coach from Georgia, but I don't think he's still around.
Yeah, I remember that.
Jesse Minter would be interesting from Michigan, but at this point, you almost wonder if it's going to be Wilson just because it's in-house.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where you're at. But you mentioned those defensive free agents, and that's a really good point, Regz. Like, when you're looking at this as an outsider, and you're really saying, oh, I have 5 starters left on this roster, and I don't even know if 5 is the right number. You're essentially, you have Sweat, Reddick, Slay,
Blankenship.
He's not in there. He's not.
I know he's not really.
Started.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
Maddox.
Okay.
And I guess you could argue Brandon Graham, or you could argue
any of the linebackers.
No, Edwards is a free agent. Kaiser White's a free agent. So quickly, here are your free agents on defense: Fletcher Cox, starter. Robert Quinn, he won't be back. I mean, Fletch could come back if he's willing to take a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
Team friendly. Brandon Graham probably back. Javon Hargrave, I hope. back, but I don't know. He's a starter. Bradbury, starter. Kaiser White, starter. TJ Edwards, starter. What am I at? 5 starters now?
Yep.
And Ndamukong Suh, Linval Joseph, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, starter. Marcus Epps, starter. 7 starters. Like, if you're a defensive coordinator from the outside looking at that, you got to basically rebuild. Now, I'm sure they're posing plans for every single person that they're in conversation with. But that's not an easy, that's not an easy task.
Yeah, you got to think from a linebacker's perspective that hopefully Nakobe Dean is highly involved, this next year. You got to think a guy on a rookie
should be able to bring
a guy
back
on a
one
rookie
of those
deal
two
with
guys,
a guy on a rookie deal with that amount of talent has to get a chance.
You should be able to bring back Edwards or White, too.
Yeah, I would just hope
White's a Philly guy.
I would just hope that Dean has a chance to play a lot more this year and kind of prove whether or not he can do it. Did you mute yourself accidentally?
I may have.
You did. You ghost touched it with your chin, I think.
How about it? Good job by me. I'd like to see both safeties back.
Yes.
And Marcus Epps isn't great, but he's a solid starter. You could essentially put Reed Blankenship into that spot. I don't know what that's going to look like. You're drafting corner, you're drafting edge, you're drafting interior line. You're going to have to fill some needs in your back 7.
Yeah.
And some of that is bringing these guys back. Chauncey should be back. Marcus should be back. One of Kaiser White and TJ Edwards should be back. I'm kind of hoping TJ Edwards. He's younger. But you can probably bring Kaiser White back team friendly because he's a Philly guy. So there's just a lot there, and I'm having a hard time with them going into this combine this week without.
Yeah, and it might just be one of those things that they might just be looking at I know everyone throws around best available, but they know the positions that they need, regardless of the scheme that you're running. Like, they know the positions of guys that they're not going to be able to bring back, who they're going to pursue trying to bring back. And so that at least gives you a sense of, okay, well, these positions we need to start filling in. And then the scheme can come in and do whatever it wants. From a team perspective, it's a little bit easier than probably from a D coordinator perspective coming in and not knowing what guys you have. Like, I just don't like coming in and being like, well, I don't know who I got.
I think look, they're better at this than we are.
Well, for sure.
We can sit here all day and say what we want to say, and we're going to be wrong.
Yep.
Because they'll figure it out. Ultimately they have a plan. Whether or not we agree with their plan means nothing. It really comes down to building your board. They've been really good at taking best available these last couple of years. Since the Jalen Hurts draft, they've been really good at taking best available. And I don't blame them for I can't look at these last 2 drafts and be upset with anything they've done.
Yeah.
So hopefully that continues here in the, and I think, your examples of that are the linemen they've taken, the Landon Dickerson pick, and then the kid they took to replace Jason Kelsey. Like these are smart picks that, you take these guys early because they're the best player on your board and they're going to help in the future. And that's really because they could have used other guys at those spots the last couple of years. They had needs and they didn't draft needs, and it's benefited them. They've been a playoff team the last 2 years. Howie's figured it out, and he'll continue to do that. So that's where we're at with the Eagles. We'll keep everybody posted. I'll be watching the combine super close, really closely this week, just to keep tabs on guys that might interest us. And maybe I'll highlight 1 or 2 each week as we, meet here.
That'd be great. Lead us right into the actual draft.
over to the Sixers, who came out of the break with a huge win, an exciting ending and finish against a really talented team. They seem to be able to beat every talented team except for one.
Yeah. I mean,
And here I was thinking that Mac McClung was going to change the luck of Philadelphia winning the dunk contest. They come out, they beat Memphis, who is very, very good. Joel Embiid has 6 freaking blocks to go along with 19 rebounds and 27 points and the flush to put it away. But then they come back last night and do what they do.
I don't know how much we can get on them for that. The fact that they only lost by 3,
I'm about to be the negative one. I'll tell you that.
I think the fact that they only lost by 3 is pretty good. I don't know why you have Melton on Jason Tatum at the end of the game. Jason Tatum is 6'7". Melton is 6'3". Like, if nothing else, put Toby on him, who can at least just get a hand like anywhere near where he's shooting the ball.
100%.
And look, Boston is this team's kryptonite. We do not have enough athletic wing defenders to guard Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and apparently Derek White, who has become God's gift to basketball in the past week or so.
Truly bad.
But look, Jason Tatum has taken a big leap this year after going to the finals last year. I know Brown is hurt, right? Brown's still hurt, right?
He played last night.
Did he play last night? All right, he's been back.
Yeah.
It's the absolute nightmare matchup for this team, who doesn't have defenders in those key wing positions. So honestly, the fact that they only lost by 3, I think, is pretty good. I think it helped that Boston didn't play a great game. But eventually that stuff is just going to come. It's just going to come back and bite you in the butt. Like, those guys are too good. They're not going to be bad for 4 quarters. And eventually you have to either get a stop or, play your balls off offensively and match them score for score.
Which they did for most of the freaking game.
Yeah, they did. They did.
I have such and there's a talent gap between the two teams for sure, especially when it comes to the bench depth.
Yes.
There's no doubt about that. But it goes back to the guy who, like, players win and lose the game. Like, I know how it works. I get it. But the coach is not putting these guys in a position to succeed. It's a 4-man bench lineup almost every freaking time. And you can't do that against the Celtics.
Yeah, no.
Because their bench lineup isn't a bench lineup. Like, Brogdon coming off the bench?
Yeah.
Like, he's like their 7th or 8th man.
And he's really good.
It is insane to me that he continues to do this. And the other thing that I think he needs to consider is going back to Maxey in the starting lineup. His confidence is shot coming off the bench. He's not the same player.
Yeah.
He has not been the same player since they moved him to a 6-man role. And they need him to be a scorer. They absolutely need him to be a scorer. I was frustrated last night at just the ineptitude of Doc Rivers to make the right calls in his rotations. It's never ending. We say it on the show all the time. The other thing that I was really angry about last night was Al Horford continuing to kill this team.
Yeah.
Regz, I don't know that there's ever been a player that was as bad for a Philadelphia team as Al Horford was, that just goes back to being good again when he's not in Philadelphia, at least against the team that he played for. Like, there have been many guys who come and go that, like, were bad here but good elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like, David Robertson screams at me. But at least David Robertson had some moments this time around.
Yeah.
And I can't blame the guy for the injury stuff, right? But Al Horford just didn't care when he was here.
Yeah.
There was no effort. there was just he had no desire to be a Sixer. And then he goes away, goes back to Boston, and rattles off 9 straight points against the Sixers last night. Goes on his own 9-0 run. And then hits the dagger.
I just
kiss my ass, Al.
I just don't know how you let guys like that beat you. Like, he's not.
Well, they were helping off on Tatum a lot.
Yeah.
And I get that, but I'm also like, if Horford's beating you,
yeah, it's tough.
Stop leaving him.
Right. Make an adjustment. Like, maybe only let him make the 1-3, and then maybe.
Oh yeah, because Tatum just wasn't playing that well last night. Take it in stride.
Yeah.
All that being said, they're still 18 games over 500.
I mean,
and
look,
they can beat everybody else.
Right. And
Riggs, they beat everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, that I don't have a rebuttal. Like, it just is what it is at this point. Boston is too terrible of a matchup for this team.
Yeah.
And they just will continue. They just are going to be that.
Well, they have a home and home with Miami tomorrow, Wednesday. Home tomorrow.
They should beat Miami by a lot.
Miami Wednesday, and then on Thursday they play Dallas.
Yeah.
In Dallas. And that'll be a tough game for them. This week is tough. After that loss that you had in your hands last night, Miami, Dallas, Milwaukee.
Yeah, that's tough.
On Saturday night.
That's a tough little 4-game stretch there.
You're hoping 2-2 is and I don't know. I mean, both Miami games need to be wins, I think.
I think they could beat Dallas.
Yeah.
If things go well. Dallas has nobody that can guard Embiid.
You wonder if Joel sits the first half of that back-to-back.
I mean, we don't have anyone that can guard Luka. But
you wonder if he doesn't play the second Miami game.
Yeah, there's a chance.
The one in Miami. I got him 2-2. I don't know that. I mean, I don't know that they're gonna beat Milwaukee.
No, probably not. Especially with Middleton being back.
Yeah. But I go back to, they can beat pretty much everybody. They've beaten the top 8 seeds in the West. They just cannot beat the Celtics. Yeah. So I think their only prayer getting to a final is not having to play the Celtics.
Well, yeah, you hope that you just catch the right draw.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about the team that, we're most excited about. Regz, can I just say the spring training vibes are so high. This team is crazy. So fun. Already they are fun. And it's all the mic'd up stuff on social media. Like we keep sending it to each other. We had the Garrett Stubbs mic'd up day, which was
wild,
unbelievably
that guy's
good.
A nut job.
Don't start with me. He does, like, I feel like I was Garrett Stubbs in college. Like I just talked a whole lot of crap.
Yeah, that's very true.
and ran around like a little like hyper energetic mouse.
Yeah.
Like that's what I feel like he has like played music, like all of it. I feel like
it's a good comparison when I think about it.
I'm looking at myself in college when I watch Garrett Stubbs.
It's a good comparison when I think
about it. And I love the guy. I think he's great, man.
Yeah.
He's so good. He's so good. And then you got, Brandon Marsh, who's equally as hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Add on to that the addition of Matt Strom, who basically broadcasted their whole golf outing.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That was really good.
Yeah.
That was really, and highlights of that were, again, Brandon Marsh.
Yep.
Again, Garrett Stubbs.
Mm-hmm.
And then, JT had a nice little cameo in there.
He did.
He had a moment.
Schwartz did his thing.
Schwartz did his thing, and Bryson Stott continues to just when he made fun of Trey from like 150 yards away from him. Right, Trey? Yeah, I thought so.
Trea Turner, who apparently can hit a 275-yard 2-iron.
Dude, how about
which
it?
is absurd. A 2-iron is a ridiculous club to even be able to hit. Just
Yeah.
period.
When you're really good at things, you're really good at things.
Yeah, that's true.
Ultimately, though, it's really fun to see how much they click.
Yeah, and I
You
think
know,
I think the big thing about it that I'm taking away from it is that they're able to have that sort of attitude in spring training, but you never get the feeling that they're not getting in the work.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Everyone knows this. You can have teams that are goofballs,
Mhm.
but don't that's just what they are. They're not getting better. They're not, doing all the things that they need to be a winning team, whatever the sport might be. But it doesn't seem like there's a lack of work ethic or, focus on what they need to get better at individually and as a group. And all that sort of talk always leads to, well, how can we get better from what just happened? Like you saw the Schwarber thing where he hit the homer off Painter from that curveball that he just hung or whatever it was, a slider.
I think it was his cutter.
Yeah, just hung it and Schwarber destroyed it. But then you saw right after Schwarber was done his little Happy Gilmore celebration, him and Painter stood there and talked like, "Hey, what did you see? Like, what do you think? Can I do better?" And Schwarber's giving him that feedback. So it's just been a lot of fun, man. I've been a sucker for those videos. I'm watching them over and over and over again. Yeah. I'm going back and I'm watching the highlights from the games that have already been happening. Like, man, I am in. Oh,
yeah. And I think, Stubbsy said it yesterday in the dugout in his interview. They asked him about the clubhouse and he said, it's just different. Like, you go to all 30 teams and everybody loves their clubhouse to an extent. He said, this one's different. And it's very clear that it is, that there's just a different vibe with this team and Bryce isn't even there yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bryce isn't even there yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just wait till he gets there, man. I don't know. It's just a lot of fun right now. But when it comes to the team, I think before we go into our two kind of baseball relative topics, let's just focus on the team a little bit. And we decided that we're going to hit on 6 things that this show is really bullish on. Like, we are certain these things are going to happen. We are certain about these things or these players and their success. So we each picked 3. We did discuss them before and we didn't want to have any overlap.
That's right.
We wanted to make sure that we had different stuff. So, Regz, you want to start? You want to give us one and we'll just go back and forth?
I would love to.
All right.
To no one's shock, and this isn't going out on a real limb here, but after today, as we discussed a little earlier in the pod, Trea Turner is really effing good at baseball. And I know everyone gets worried that Nick Castellanos was really good last, the year before last, and then he came to Philly, and this is what happens when when stars come to Philadelphia. Guys have great years and then we sign them and then they're awful. I think we can see very clearly that is not the case with Trea Turner.
Correct.
I just want to watch that first inning and his at bat into a stolen base, into scoring on a single over and over and over and over again. I just I don't know what else to say. And it's difficult because not difficult, but I think it's different. Like, we've watched Trea Turner for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
He's been in the National League. He was literally in the division since he came up. We've watched him for a long time. Can I ever say that I've been really keyed in to his at bats other than when it's a big situation and I know he's going to kill the Phillies? Yeah, of course I've watched in that context, but I wasn't happy about what he was doing. And now you watch and you're just when is the last time the Phillies have had a guy like this? Probably Jimmy Rollins is the first person you could think of.
That's probably right, yeah.
And then I couldn't tell you after that. another guy like this.
It's probably right.
I'm just so all in on the Turner world and him being at the top of this lineup. I'm just all in, man. I'm all in on it.
Yeah. Yeah. More on him to come. I'm going to go with somebody that you already mentioned in the show. And you talked about him last week as a storyline that you were excited about. I am so bullish on Andrew Painter. I know I've been talking about this kid since beginning of last year, you know, at least on the show, probably before that in general, but like at least on the show since the beginning of last year. This kid's 19.
That continues to be absurd to me. He's a giraffe out there.
I mean, the fact that he has 5 pitches at his age.
Yeah.
Is something that I feel like is going totally under the radar. And listening to every single person who talks about him, whether it's JT or Stubbs or today Topper talked about him a little bit, or Schwarber, all of these guys, every single, like they're saying it is not made up. Like this is very real. What we're hearing, reading, seeing, it's all real.
Yeah.
This kid is legitimate.
Yeah.
And I'm so bullish on him, not just winning that 5th starter job, but potentially being this year's rookie of the year. Like he will get votes as this year's rookie of the year. I think he's that good. I think, you know, we haven't had many pitching prospects to be excited about in the last decade. Yeah. The last one that has had this much hype was probably Cole Hamels.
Yeah.
Spencer Howard had hype, but there was always a little bit of like, he wasn't this guy for this long.
Yeah.
Andrew Painter has been this guy. He's done it at every level he's been to. No one has figured this kid out. Like even watching Schwarber against him the other day, there were some really ugly swings.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And that's a really good hitter.
Yeah.
And he got him. He did get him. He's working on a cutter. It's a new pitch. He left one up in the zone. You leave a cutter up in the zone, guess what happens to it?
Especially with Kyle Schwarber up. It's going to go a long way.
So I watching guys take swings, hearing the catcher say, yeah, it's the hype's legit. Hearing Topper say, I'm excited to watch this kid. He's pitching on Wednesday. It's not a televised game, unfortunately.
Oh, that's such a bummer.
I think it's purposeful. I do.
Someone needs to put up like a pirated live stream or something. Somebody give me something.
I think it's purposeful. We'll get a lot of videos, I'm sure, from Alex and the team out there.
God, she's been killing it in the spring.
Yeah, she really has.
It's so good.
She should have been what we were bullish on.
What a call by us, by the way.
Yeah.
Called Alex early.
Sure did.
I mean, again.
You did. You did.
She's working her tail off, but like as a show, we were in on Mrs. Coffee early.
Very in.
Yeah. There's not much more to say. That kid is he just looks so much the part. And I really hope, and Fritz said this on the last High Hopes that they did. He just hopes, and I agree. I hope they just leave him in the majors because he doesn't need more AAA reps. Like, even if you're going to give him some reps and then shut him down for a few weeks because you're trying to keep the innings, at a good spot, that's fine. But if this guy proves out to be that, this good in these next couple of spring training games, just let's get it going, man.
Yeah.
Let's get it going.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. What do you got what's our third bullish thing? By the way, we did agree on all these, but it wasn't like
this wasn't like you, but yeah, right. They were discussed and agreed upon.
Yes.
Number 3, Mr. Castellanos.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that swing. That swing today.
So, again, our girl Alex has been on top of this Castellanos story. She's written really several articles about him. Got him to basically open up and say how uncomfortable he was last year. And it all kind of started when it got revealed what house he bought. So like people knew his address, and that made him unbelievably uncomfortable with a new baby coming and moving to a new place. And he got very personal about kind of missing time with his newborn, which didn't happen with his first son.
Right.
Like really opened up about a lot of stuff. And again, look, you could say like you're a professional like athlete. This comes with the territory, you know, but I think if we've learned anything about Nick Castellanos is that he's an emotional guy. And sometimes there are certain athletes that this stuff affects more than others. And obviously a lot of things happened quickly for Castellanos last year, and it translated into an off year. But I'm just so in on the fact that guys like this don't just all of a sudden forget how to hit. Like, it just doesn't happen. It's not one of those things that just magically goes away. And even today, they talked about, and I think Alex had this too, that him and Kevin Long talked about moving closer to the plate while he was hitting. And sort of like up in the box a little bit instead of being way back, moving up. And they had a quote from Kevin Long. He's like, I asked him, how many times have you had a heater like have guys blown heaters by you? And he's like, not that many. And he's like, but how many times have you felt like that you have to reach off the plate to protect and kind of hit things that way? He's like, a lot. So he's moved closer to the plate to protect that outside. And he's moved up in order to sort of catch those sliders that he's been missing a little higher in the zone and give himself a better chance. And you saw, like, again, we're not going to take one game as everything's cured. But
that was such a vintage.
That was such, that's Castellanos. Like, all we heard about him coming here is just watch how hard this guy hits the ball to the opposite field.
Yeah.
And the sound that ball made.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch the replay, which I've done 30 times, admittedly, the thing just sounded like it was hit really hard. And it wasn't even like he got full extension. He was almost like half jammed, but still, like, that's what you've heard about Castellanos. His contact is so good.
Yeah.
But it was just, he seems to be very aware of what he has to do. And he doesn't have at least for now, he's not letting his ego get in the way. That, like, I'm Nick Castellanos and I can figure all this out by myself. He's obviously taking Kevin Long's advice. He's watching film on himself, and he's open to trying new things. Like, just let's see what feels good. Yeah. He's already coming in with a better mindset, and he's open to trying things to get back to where he was. And I think it's going to happen.
I'm right there with you. I buckle in, guys, because if Nick Castellanos,
if that guy is hitting like
this lineup, forget it. Forget it.
Yeah.
Just forget it. Additionally, the Trea Turner addition to this team, Nick Castellanos figuring it out, being an addition to this team. But can we just talk about the bullpen?
Yeah.
This is a place where I'm going to dig in. It's been a place where I've struggled the last couple of years to be confident, but I am digging in. And here's why. It's about, not just about what they've added. Obviously, Craig Kimbrell is that's a big piece to bring on. Even if he's not vintage Craig Kimbrell and he's somewhere in between bad Craig Kimbrell and old Craig Kimbrell, if he is just that line in the middle, that's perfectly fine with what else they have. The addition of Matt Strahm, which surprised me, but people are sort of, just waiting to see what that looks like. But he's another lefty that they have out there who throws pretty hard.
Did you see that Jason Stark video from a couple of days ago where he's pitching to Derek Hall? And Derek Hall, like, weakly grounds the ball to third. And he's like, that was the hardest hit ball off Strahm in 10 minutes. It was like a weak grounder that barely made it to the third baseman.
Well, that just made me giddy. And then obviously Gregory Soto, who we're excited about because we have the two hardest throwing left-handed pitchers in all of baseball.
Just want to get him over here.
Yeah, how about it with the visa stuff? But obviously, Sir and Jose, Bilatti's he's going to be a mainstay.
Brogdon looked good today.
Ridiculous
I was about to say,
today.
yep, we were texting about this.
I will tell you right now that he's the guy I think takes the biggest step forward in the bullpen. I don't know that we see many steps back, but he's a guy I think that got a lot of confidence in the postseason.
Yeah.
He had one rough go against Atlanta early in that series, the divisional round, but then they brought him back out the next day and he was really good. And he was really good the rest of the postseason.
Yeah.
And I do believe that there's a lot of confidence there. The changeup is just untouchable. I truly think it's the best pitch that any pitcher on the Philly staff has when it's going great. When it's going, I think it's the best pitch on the staff. Bilotti tried throwing a couple changeups today. Pretty excited about that. So they have 7 of their 8 figured out. They need their 8th reliever, which what we've talked about before is a really good problem. Here's what I'm excited about. Listen to the depth in this bullpen this year. Bailey Falter, right?
Yep.
Nick Nelson, 2 guys who gave them a lot of innings last year.
Yeah.
Christopher Sanchez gave them a lot of innings last year. And then there are some new names. Andrew Vasquez, who they brought over. He pitched today. He looked really good. Junior Marte pitched yesterday, gave up a home run, but the stuff looked good.
And even Fritz put this in his like spring training day 1 thoughts.
Did he?
Yep. He was like, forget the home run. That stuff was moving.
Yeah. There's a lot of there. The pitch that the home run came on was a sinker that just kind of stayed up.
Yeah.
But otherwise, his stuff looked really good. Francisco Morales was throwing like 98, not almost 99. And there's movement to him. Drew Baker. They're super high on Drew Baker.
That guy looked real good.
That slider is crazy.
Yeah.
And then McKinley Moore, who pitched today, is a power reliever. He's the kid we got from in the Hazley trade. There, Regz, that's 8 guys that could help them at any time this year. And you always need extra arms.
Yeah.
You know that always happens. So I'm really bullish on the bullpen. I do believe Falter probably wins that eighth spot because they'll use him as a spot starter.
Right.
But that leaves you right off the bat, if needed, Nick Nelson, who brought down big innings last year, Chris Sanchez, who brought down innings last year, Marte, who pitched in San Francisco at the big league level, and Andrew Vasquez, who can do it. And then you have to dig a little bit more deeply into, the Bakers, Moraleses, and Moores of the world who look like they can be serviceable. So I'm really high on this bullpen. And it's been a long freaking time since we've been able to say that. All right, you're up. Number 5.
My next one, again, is going to be one that we haven't seen a ton, but this is like a projection. I think Bomer is going to really step up his hitting this year. Again, did not have a bad year last year. Was pretty good. Was consistent. Was really one of the guys who kind of kept hitting throughout, even when other guys were going through slumps around him. I just think the 10 pounds of muscle, the swing changes that he's working on to get more power. Like if this guy can start getting some more oomph behind the ball, he's just like his ability to just make just ball to bat contact and just get the ball out there is so good already. And just add to that a little bit more pop. So those little bloop singles become doubles to the gaps. Like he's just hitting the ball that much harder all these places. I just think it's going to be really difficult to keep him out of. I'm bullish, and my hope is that it's going to be really difficult to keep him out of the top 5 of the lineup at some point. Like he's just going to be hitting so well that there's going to be a lot. I don't think, and nothing might change, but I just think he's going to make Topper think about some of that stuff. And I think it's going to be really, really cool. So what's the sixth one? What's our number 6?
You know, I love bold takes, Regz.
You do.
I was really bold on the Eagles and it paid off. So I'm going to be bold on the Phillies. They're winning the division this year.
I love this.
I'm so confused.
I hope you say what I think you're going to say.
As to how everybody keeps saying that they're going to win less games than they won last year. The Braves are somehow winning this division.
That one. Thank you.
I understand that you have to like dethrone like the team who continues to do it, but at some point you've got to consider that the team who just went to the World Series and got better.
Thank you.
Like not even marginally, but exponentially better.
Like what did the Braves, what kind of PR campaign did the Braves run in the dark that's got all these like pundits and people who are picking these divisions like on their knees for them? Like what? Am I missing something?
They're not even the team I dislike the most in the division.
I know.
And I'm tired of it. I think that they're the third best team in the division. I firmly believe that.
They are. That's why.
I think that when you look at it on paper, the Phillies and the Mets are very close in pretty much every area, maybe outside of starting pitching, where I think the Mets might hold a slight advantage. And we'll talk much more about that as we get closer to the season.
There's a lot to talk about.
But I do believe that the Phillies are just the monkey on the back last year was getting in the playoffs.
Yes.
But we've heard a lot of them saying this year it's winning 2 more games.
Yeah.
There's no longer something holding them back from being the team that they can be.
Mm-hmm.
There's no longer the missing piece to the puzzle. They've got all of the pieces. They're about as solid in the middle of the field as any team in baseball. They have a good mix of veteran and youth.
Mm-hmm.
They have a really solid starting rotation, and it's about to get a lot better with a phenom coming. Not to mention 2 guys not far behind.
Yeah.
They have what I think is the best bullpen in the division, top to bottom. And what I would say is the best lineup. If guys like Stott and Bohm take the next step forward, and you just spoke very eloquently to how Alec Bohm, the swing just looks stronger.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It just looks stronger. I mean, yeah, you're really banking on them being successful until Bryce gets back. But I think that they have the pieces to do that. They were not as good of a team last year when they were missing Bryce and Gene.
Yeah.
But found ways to do that. You know? So I think they're going to win the division. I think they're going to win it pretty comfortably.
I love it. I love it so much.
And it's the most confident I've been in a long time.
Oh, it's the best.
But speaking of those pundits, can we just talk about the top 100 real quickly?
Yes,
and then we're going to talk about the new rules before we wrap up tonight.
So I think we're going to talk about this sort of section, the 20 to 11. So they have Bryce Harper at 17 and Trea Turner at 11. And I'll just read the top 10 just so we can get some context.
I'd also just like, can we just run through which guys are in it from the Phillies real quickly? Do you have that available to you?
I do. Let's take a look here.
Run through the players that are in it and their rankings.
So Reese is at 94.
Okay.
The next one is, stop restarting on me, Twitter, for the love of God. So there's that. JT at 29.
Huh?
And I missed Schwarber somewhere, but I'll find it. Harper at 17, Trey at 11. And I missed Wheeler and Nola, so I'm going to go find that. Hold, please.
Yeah, and Schwarbs.
Right.
I want to say Schwarbs is like 70-something. Or maybe that's Knowles.
Yep. Hold on. Here we go.
Holding.
Sorry, this is great content. I know everyone as I search the internet. But okay, here we go.
Always great content.
Turner 11, Bryce Harper 17, JT 29, Zach Wheeler 35, Kyle Schwarber 44, Aaron Nola 79, Rhys Hoskins 94. There you go.
79 Knowles. What number was Schwarb's?
44.
Okay. All right. So I'm fine with Rhys, Aaron, and Kyle. I think Aaron's probably a little low.
Probably a little.
I feel like he's probably a top 60 to 70 player. But not terrible. I think Schwarb's is appropriately placed. Wheeler being 35 is atrocious.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like that either.
I not the time to do it, but I'd love to dig and see how many pitchers are actually ahead of him.
Yeah.
JT Realmuto barely cracking the top 30 as the best catcher. As the best catcher in the game is a disaster.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he's the best catcher in the game, arguably the most important position in the game.
Yep.
And he's 29th.
Yeah.
Hilarious. This is where I struggle.
We had an argument about this, so this is going to be fun.
No.
Not an argument. We disagreed a little bit.
No, I don't think we did.
No,
I'm not talking about Bryce.
No, not on Bryce. On the next part. I just on this list in general.
The next part. Let me just speak to Bryce. There is no way in the devil created hell that Bryce Harper has 16 guys that are better at baseball than he is.
You want me to run through them?
Please.
Okay.
Please.
From Bryce Harper's at 17, I'm going in, now 16, 15. We're going to go that way.
Okay.
Julio Rodriguez, Max Scherzer,
No.
Justin Verlander, Sandy Alcantara,
No.
Juan Soto,
No.
Trea Turner,
Possibly.
Freddie Freeman, no.
No.
Yordan Alvarez, Jose
No.
Ramirez, no.
No.
Paul Goldschmidt, no. Nolan Arenado, Manny Machado,
I'd say no, but
But this is like the company he should be keeping. Arenado, Machado, Mookie Betts, Mike Trout, Aaron Judge. Will people stop sucking the D of Aaron Judge just because he hit 62 home runs? Why am I missing something?
I will tell you, there is no doubt in my mind he will spend at least 30 to 40 days on the IL this year.
Am I missing something? Aaron Judge is not the second best baseball player in the major leagues.
Here's the problem.
And then Shohei is number one.
Which again, sure. You listed like 5 consecutive pitchers. And in a vacuum, I can understand how you would say that Sandy Alcantara is better than Bryce Harper.
Why is Julio Rodriguez on this list? He's played one season.
But that's what it is. It's all recency bias. And the fact that Bryce was hurt for a lot of last year, he's going to be hurt again this year.
That's what they're 400 in the playoffs.
I know he did. I'm Regz. I'm angrier than anybody about that. The disrespect. And look, Bryce Harper's probably sitting on his $500,000 couch.
Right.
Like
next to his $1 million pool. Yep.
Yeah, laughing at the fact that we're angry about this.
Right.
This means nothing to Bryce Harper.
Bryce, if you're listening, by the way, we'd love to have you on the show. If this gets to you somehow, love to have you on the show.
Just the rage that I feel specifically about whoever made this list, looking at it and saying, yeah, there are 16 better baseball players than Bryce Harper. Blows my freaking mind.
Freddie Freeman?
So what I want to end the Bryce part on, and then we can go to where we disagreed, is I really have a hard time thinking of 5 players better than Bryce Harper.
We're going to do this right now. Let's look at the top 10 and really talk about this. Shohei Ohtani, Okay, the guy's like a freak of nature.
Well, yeah, the fact that he pitches, like, I feel like that automatically makes him the best player in baseball.
I'm fine with that. I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge, no.
Bryce is better than Aaron Judge. He just is.
Thank you. Mike Trout. I really like Mike Trout. Mike Trout is very good.
He is. But like, if we're gonna judge Bryce on his injuries, then we have to have that same conversation about Mike Trout.
Yeah. Mookie Betts. Maybe.
Yeah,
I think you could make an argument here.
It's the conversation. I'd be willing to have conversations about all these guys and not be so finite about them.
Right. Manny Machado, I understand there's an argument. Nolan Arenado, fine. Paul Goldschmidt, no. Jose Ramirez
is very good.
Not better than Bryce Harper.
That he's 9 spots better than Bryce Harper.
They ranked him as the 8th best baseball player in the major leagues.
Yeah. And honestly, no, Regz, he very well could be in that top 10. That's not the point. The point is that Bryce belongs in that top 10 with him.
Not 17.
Yeah. All right. Let's the Trea Freddie thing. And I don't want to make this specific to Freddie. My argument, because Regz said to me, and Regz, if I'm misinforming the crew here, let me know.
Okay.
Reg's thoughts were like Trea belongs ahead of Freddie.
Yes.
Right. My thing was I'm not going to get into 10 and 11 because I feel like there's just this like weird fine line.
Jose effing Ramirez.
Yeah, but he's not 10, 11.
He's 8. Trea Turner's better than him.
Not according to MLB.
Come on. I like Freddie Freeman. I really do. I really do. I think he's a really good baseball player. He is not like the Braves Freddie Freeman. Like an MVP Freddie Freeman. He's not.
Yeah.
Like, I'll never get over Jose Ramirez being in the top 10. I'll never get over it. Has the guy stolen 4 bases in his whole life? Like,
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that. I will say that Jose Ramirez is a really, really good baseball player. Who a lot of people don't know about because of where he plays.
I know who Jose Ramirez is. I'm aware that he's a good baseball player. Come on now.
I know. I do think he's a top 10 player. I just don't think he's better than Bryce Harper.
I don't think he's better than Trea Turner either.
No, and you'll hear my opinion on Trea when we get to Phixated.
I just think I hate the recency bias in this. I hate it so much.
That's what this is.
How you could put Aaron Judge as the number 2 baseball player in major leagues and still like feel good about yourself as a baseball person, I'll never understand.
I will be interested to see what Aaron Judge does this year.
Like
he was in his contract year last year.
I love Nolan Arenado. I love him. He's one of my absolute favorite players to watch outside of the Phillies. 6 is probably a little high. Like Paul Goldschmidt.
I think 7 is really high for Goldschmidt.
It's really high. Like I get it. He had he had an unbelievable year last year.
Yeah, it's all the recency bias. They were 1 and 2 in the MVP vote.
I hate it so much.
And then they did absolutely nothing when it mattered. And Bryce Harper torched them and ran through the postseason.
Yeah. Thanks for nothing, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, those lists make me nuts. They make me nuts.
They're ridiculous, and they are what they are. All right, Regz. Let's talk about the new rules.
Deep breath, everybody. Here we go.
New rules.
All right. So, I mean, we've seen this obviously in spring training, the pitch timer.
Yeah.
We're just going to quickly kind of run through what this means and the changes here. So,
can we save that one for last?
Absolutely. Let's go.
I think it's the most impactful one of the entire.
Let's go to the shift restrictions.
Yes.
2 infielders must be positioned on either side of second base when the pitch is released.
Mm-hmm.
All 4 infielders, and I think this is a big one. I think this is probably the biggest one. All 4 infielders must have both feet within the infield when pitcher is on the rubber. So technically, you could move your second baseman if just that first bullet point applied to that short right field where a lot of them go anyway. But the fact that they have to be in the infield when the pitcher is on the rubber is a big one. Shift restrictions, increase batting average, and decrease strikeouts in minors while giving players more opportunity to show off their athleticism. I mean, that's just a reason for why they did it. They want more hits, and they want these lefty hitters to be able to hit that scorcher into short right field.
Here's a couple of things that you might see happen. The first one being you might see a right fielder creep in.
Yes.
Time to time. I don't think that's going to be all the time. But I think if you get a guy who hits a lot of ground balls, you have a sinker baller, you might take that risk and bring your right fielder in a little bit. The other thing that you might see, or that you're going to see, is they're still going to shift.
Yes.
You're not going to have a guy out in right field, but you're going to have a guy playing the hole, and essentially the shortstop standing as close to second base in the middle of the field as you possibly can get.
But that still leaves that gap between that second baseman and that shortstop.
Yeah.
Which
you
is
don't
where
have three guys on one side of the infield.
Right, where the shortstop would be on the other side of second base and the third baseman would be playing shortstop.
Right. And I think you're running the risk. You certainly are. What's going to be fun is watching some of these Phillies hit without these shifts.
Yes.
It's going to be absolute joy to watch. So I'm anxious to see what that'll look like.
All right, next one.
The shift will be pretty impactful for the Phillies, I think, with some of the guys they have.
Completely agree. All right, next one. Bigger bases. First base, second base, and third base. Increase. Geez, I did it just like you did when you said something
earlier. How about
Increase from 15 inches square to 18 inches square.
Yeah.
Bigger bases expected to have positive impact on player safety. Distance reduced by 3 inches from home to first and home to third. Reduced by 4.5 inches from first to second and second to third. Bigger bases reduced injury events near the bases by more than 13% in the minors in 2022.
I am interested to see the injury piece because I'm not quite sure how it correlates, but I know that the bases are flatter.
Yes.
They're flatter now. So I think that some of that could, potentially keep some leg injuries from.
Or finger injuries, I think they're talking about when people are diving into the base.
Yeah.
There's not as much of like a lip there that the guys could jam their, like this literally what has derailed Mike Trout's career has been him sliding into bases head first and hurting his hand.
Good point. And there's kind of twofold here, like positive and negative for the Phillies, because I feel like we just need to touch on that. The positive being that they finally have a team who has some speed.
Yes.
Right? Like JT stole 20 bases last year.
Mm-hmm.
Turner, I mean, clearly.
Yeah. Clearly.
Brandon Marsh can run. Bryson Stott can run. So half of their lineup.
Bryce on occasion likes to take
Bryce
off.
Bryce will run on occasion too. Yeah. And Schwarber ran a few times last year.
The big hoss.
Why the big hoss running around? So that's a positive because half of their lineup will take off.
Yep.
But it sort of deletes an advantage that they have with JT. Him being able to throw guys out. Now, that being said, I don't know that it eliminates his ability to do so because there are times where he throws a guy out by a good 2-3 feet.
Yes. I think
but just the fact that he's back there, still you have to have that in the back of your mind as a runner.
Yeah, it will be impacted for sure. I think when you still have a guy who has that kind of pop time and his ability to throw, he's still going to be way up there in his percentages of throwing guys out. It might not be as high as it has been in the past. But he's still probably going to be up there.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I kind of call that a push. I think the shift restrictions are advantage Phillies.
Absolutely.
But I think this is more of a push for them than anything else.
I agree. All right, the big one, the pitch timer.
Oh, this one is wild.
15 seconds with bases empty that the pitcher has to pitch. 20 seconds with runners on base. The hitter gets 1 timeout per plate appearance and must be in the batter's box with their eyes towards the pitcher with 8 seconds left. It's a very important distinction because the umpires are being told to enforce this strictly this year.
We've seen it.
Yep. Pitchers get 2 disengagements, pickoff attempts, or step-offs per batter. Violations are called a balk. So this is an unbelievable advantage to runners.
Mm-hmm.
If you get a guy to throw over even once, you almost have a guaranteed like walking lead to second base. Here are the 2 like sort of bullet points as like results based. Limits on pickoff attempts led to 26% increase in stolen base attempts in the minors. Pitcher timer helped reduce game length by 25 minutes in the minors in 22.
Yeah.
We've already seen this thing and it's wild.
Well, yesterday the Phillies played 2 games. One lasted 2 hours, 40 minutes. The other lasted 2 hours, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Today was a 3-hour, 17-minute game.
And
that was because they
scored,
walked everybody.
Right.
There were like 18 walks in this game.
Yep, exactly.
The games are definitely going to be shorter, which, Andrea said to me today, are you okay with that? And I said, look, if I'm only watching games till 9:15, 9:30 at night, like that's a win.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. Yeah.
It's not a bad thing. I don't think it makes baseball worse. I will say I have some concerns about it. And let me just kind of run through. I don't know that it's an advantage depending on the pitcher. Like they talked about today, Bilotti was in like the bottom 10.
Yes.
In terms of like the amount of time it took him.
And I think they mentioned Alvarado too as being
pretty
slow.
Alvarado's very, very deliberate. Like he has a routine.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that they're working with the pitchers on that. But to catch and go is very hard. Like you want to almost catch it, get on the mound and take all of that time once you're there.
Yes, right.
Which is what we saw Bilotti do today. I mean, he ran that thing down.
Way down. Yep.
Yeah. He ran that thing down. So that's constantly going to be on their minds. And I think for the Phillies, knowing that they have JT is a positive. Another pitcher who this is going to really, 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 really bother is Aaron Nola.
Yes.
This is going to bother him to the ends of the earth because he is very slow.
Yeah.
It won't bother Ranger, who likes to catch the ball and throw.
Yep.
I don't think it'll bother Wheeler. I don't know enough about Painter yet, and I think Taiwan moves pretty quickly.
I think so too.
So I don't think it's going to bother them. From a hitter perspective, this is really going to be hard for Bryce.
That's exactly what I was thinking. His routine takes 15 seconds.
Yeah.
His little
and
draw on the dirt and wiggle and all that.
Doing after he got hit in the head.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure he can still get through a lot of it, but he's not going to get through it all in
it gives him 7 seconds with nobody on base to get in
really,
there.
Really 5.
Yeah.
Because you have to be looking in 7 seconds.
Exactly.
So you really have 5 seconds to step out and be ready to go. So in the grand scheme, like I'm okay with shortening games to an extent, but I also worry about players, routine, injuries for pitchers. Like we complain that these guys don't go deep enough into games as it is.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get into the middle of July. It's going to be 102 degrees outside, and we're going to be asking a dude to pitch every 15 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, that's taxing.
Yeah, it's a good
The
point.
human body can only manage so much, Regz. Like, these guys are in some of the best shape in the world, but the human body can only deal with.
Right. Sometimes you just have to like step back and take a breather. Like just take a deep breath.
Yes. And I don't know. I'm anxious to see how that goes when the weather gets hot. And then the other question I have, we saw this happen in a spring training game yesterday. Is there not going to be any leniency in a big moment? Like, I mean, it's going to be what it is.
It seems like it's going to be what it is.
And who's to differentiate what a big moment is? Because you could have a big moment in the second inning with an out.
Right.
And the base is loaded.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden it's 1-1, but because the batter doesn't get in the box with 8 seconds left looking at the pitcher, now it's 1-2.
Yep.
So, that could be a big moment in the game right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Changes everything. Changes the complexion. That's why baseball's beautiful, because big moments come and go.
Mm-hmm.
They're so fleeting. You don't even know sometimes that they're big moments. So, I don't know. This is the one to me that I think impacts the game the most.
Oh, absolutely.
From a fan perspective, I don't know. Like I think I am okay with not having to sit through a 4-hour baseball game. I think
listen,
there's part of me that's fine with that.
This is purely an attempt to bring back more casual viewers to baseball.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing. Again, I've trended towards like the really quote unquote boring sports like golf and baseball in my life. So I obviously am not one of the people who cared how long it took.
Yeah.
Will I say that I never thought a baseball game was taking too long? Like, of course I did. Like every baseball fan has. But this is an attempt to pull back those casual viewers who are saying, I can't sit through a 3.5 hour baseball game, a 4-hour baseball game. You know, I can't do it. Like, I don't have the time. I don't want to. I'm not going to go to a game for 5.5 hours or 4.5 hours. You know, it's just an attempt to bring some of those people back.
And I think that's fine. I think,
I think ultimately it'll be fine.
And as a purist, like, I don't know where I stand on it yet. You know, I wasn't necessarily all in on the extra inning rule last year, but I ended up not really hating it a whole lot. Like, I ended up being okay with it. I still, lean to the side of like maybe play the 10th inning out as a regular inning, and if that doesn't work, then go to it in the 11th.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't hate it, and I'm a purist. Like, I've loved the game since I was 5.
Yeah.
So for me to feel that way and not be so, I actually texted my dad today and said, is it bad that I actually don't mind the clock? I don't know. I mean,
a big Tom thing.
He said, look, if it doesn't like really change the actual gameplay, then who cares?
Yeah.
And I don't know that it does. I really don't know that it does. I think we have to see it for a couple of months before we make a decision on whether or not it affects pitchers.
I think it's a great point about those moments. Like, just think of maybe the Bryce Harper home run.
Yes.
With a 15-second clock on it.
Yeah.
Like, it still happens. Everything still happens. But do you have the same sort of buildup where like that his intro song plays, he slowly walks towards the mound, like he does his routine.
Yeah.
He steps in, the pitcher's just standing there like staring at him. Like there is a sort of beauty to that. Like, that's what baseball is. And again, I get it that that's a very probably small percentage of all the baseball plays that happen in a regular season and playoffs, but it's still it's a huge moment.
Yeah.
That probably feels very different with a pitch clock.
Yeah. And that's where I'm struggling.
I think we're going to have to see it. We're going to have to see it and really feel what it feels like.
One of the things, and this is the baseball purist, this is where I go back and forth, Regz. One of the things I've always loved about baseball, out of all the major sports, is the only one without a clock that decides when the game is over.
Mm-hmm.
The game is over when the 27th out or the 24th out, depending on the situation, is recorded. The clock has never been a part of this sport. It's not like football where you have to get a playoff. It's not like basketball where you gotta get a shot off.
Mm-hmm.
It's just never been part of the sport. And now we're throwing it in centuries into this game being a thing. And that's hard to like imagine being an impact, but I think we're going to see it be an impact more often than we anticipate it being right now.
Especially this first year.
Yeah. So we'll see, and we'll wait to pass judgment on it. As of now, again, I'm not upset about a 2-hour 30-minute or 2-hour 15-minute baseball game. I'm just not.
Yep.
I'm not. I dedicate a lot of time to this, and I feel like I'll get, some brownie points in my marriage from not, watching night after night of 4 hours of baseball until 11.
We'll be able to watch some West Coast games, maybe.
I said that. I said, oh, that means a West Coast game's gonna be over at like 12:30. That's awesome. Not 1:30.
Yeah, right.
Like it's incredible. It's incredible. 12:30 is doable for 36-year-old Mike.
Yeah, right.
130
Yeah,
is becoming
no,
less and less doable for me.
Yeah, that's pushing it. It's pushing it.
I pay for that for like a week and a half after. Facts, Regz, facts. All right, man. Quick fixated.
Yes, please.
I'm going to travel back to what you said earlier in the show, and that's Trea Turner. I said something today that was really bold. And Andrea like actually stopped what she was doing and she was like, "What did you just say?" And my bold statement was, Andrea, this guy is perhaps more important than the Bryce Harper signing. And she, like, again, I understood her like being taken aback by that. And I understand if there are people sitting on the other side of this saying, "Oh, this guy's lost his freaking mind," or "My first time listening to this and I'm done listening to it." Hold on, just let me explain. What Trea Turner, and again, we just told you where we think Bryce Harper fits into the mold of baseball. Like, we both think he's a top 5 to 6 player. But I don't think Trea's that far behind him. And the Phillies got Bryce because they needed to start the trend toward winning. They needed to plant the Philadelphia Philly flag in the infield that said, "We're here. Here's where we start." They did that. He got them as far as he could get them. They are missing a dynamic 5-tool guy that Trea Turner is. What Trea Turner can do to a baseball game in one plate appearance, in one moment, is just magic. Because with Bryce, you can walk Bryce. And he's not necessarily going to change the game with nobody on base. Trea Turner will change the game with nobody on base. Because Trea Turner with a walk is essentially a double. And Trea Turner standing on second base means Trea Turner scoring in some capacity. His being at the top of the Phillies lineup, and I think I've kind of come to grips with he's going to lead off. We've had that conversation, and I've stated how much I want Kyle Schwarber there, but I'm not going to argue with why Trea Turner is so important being there, because allowing Trea Turner on base with Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, and Alec Boehm, and Rhys Hoskins standing behind you, it changes everything. This is not something we have had. You said it. Jimmy Rollins is the last time that we could look at a leadoff hitter that could do everything and impact a game in more than just one way. I love Bryce, but Bryce's hit tool, his power and his hit tool are the way he changes the game. Bryce doesn't necessarily change it defensively. He doesn't change it on the base pass. He's, every once in a while he'll change it for not good because he's too aggressive. Trea changes the game by stepping on the field. Trea changes the game when he's in the box because you can't walk him, but if you throw him a strike, he's going to hit it, and he can hit it out, but he also can get it in the gap, and the gap can mean 3. If you walk him, it means he's standing on second. If you hit the ball to him, he's going to make the play. He's going to throw you out. Trea Turner adds an element to the Phillies that championship teams have. We were this close to a title without him. Adding him only adds to my bullish feel that they're going to win the division and be right back where they were in the driver's seat in October with him leading off. So I'm just really fixated on what he brings to the table. We know it. You and I have known this. We've talked about it. I do believe, Regz, this is where I fixate, that people don't really know how much they're going to love Trea Turner. Like, they don't know how much they're going to actually appreciate what he does until they watch him every single day. There were times where the Phillies weren't playing, and I would just kind of follow the Nationals on my phone so that I could turn on Masson to watch his at bat. Yes, I would mute it because their announcers are assholes.
God, yeah, that's a whole nother fixated.
But I would watch his at bats because of what he could do in any given moment. So I just need you to understand, listeners, not Regz. I know he understands.
Thank you.
That you're really in for something special over 162. Because this guy is another level of good. He's another level of good. So enjoy it. Just enjoy. That's it.
Amen.
Amen. All right, everybody. If you haven't already done so and you're watching us on YouTube, click subscribe. We always appreciate a good subscription. Leave us a comment, something that you're wondering, something, maybe something about yourself that you want us to know. I don't know. Whatever that may be.
Whatever you feel like.
Whatever strikes your fancy.
Yeah.
Make sure you follow us on Instagram at B&B Podcast. You can follow the platform on Twitter as well, but definitely follow at the Phixated Pod on Twitter. You can follow me at the Mic Drop 5 or Regz at Big Regz with a Z. And you can certainly follow us on the Phixated fan page on Facebook. I appreciate everybody who voted on the cleats on Thursday night. We will reveal the cleats that I decided on because I'll be going this week at some point. It's happening.
Can't wait.
It is happening. Make sure you click the merchandise link in the show description. You can see Regz, is that a new one?
No, it's the Q-Zip.
No, you've had the blue.
Yep,
Okay.
I've had the blue. I'm gonna get more though. I'm getting more colors.
Yeah, I have the red. I think I'm gonna get the black.
Yeah,
here soon for golf season, coming around soon.
Can't wait.
Coming around soon. All right, guys, we appreciate you listening to us. Take care this week. Enjoy a week of baseball. Wheeler, Nola, and Payne are all scheduled to pitch this week.
Ooh, boy,
down in Florida. We'll definitely be talking about that come Thursday. And I'll be following the combine and I'll have a couple of updates for us on Thursday night about what that looks like. But in the meantime, be kind to each other, be safe, take care, and I guess, you know what? We haven't done it. Let's do it. Go Sixers.
there you go. There you go, man. Go Sixers.
Oh my God, deep to right field, way up there and way out of here. The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.